What is up, you guys? Sesma coming at you here with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Dark Law Dino deck, or Dino Hero, whatever you prefer to call it. I call it Dark Law Dino because that's what the deck like most of the time revolves around. It mainly revolves around making Dark Law and making Conductor first turn, or actually going second, and then just completely obliterating your opponent. So today we're going to be talking about the main deck, 40 card main deck, 50 card extra deck, and 50 card side deck. And I'm just going to be quickly going into each one and the reasons I play behind each one, my philosophies behind siding, and things like that, hopefully offering you guys a little bit of insight on how I like to play the deck, so you walk away a little more educated on how I like to play the deck and how the reasoning behind each card choice. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with the 21 card monster lineup, we play 3 Soul Eating Oviraptor, and it is not much, like, you don't really need to say much about Soul Eating Oviraptor. He allows you to send any dinosaur from the deck to the graveyard, or add any dinosaur from your deck to. Next, we play 1 Miscellaneousaurus, and the reasoning behind that is he offers protection to your dinosaurs. So most of the time, you do play 3 Fossil Deck and 3 Oviraptor, so you pretty much can like search this guy, discard him, and now you have a dinosaur in the graveyard, and your dinosaurs have a blanket of protection. So no Valor for Oviraptor, no Solemn Strike, no nothing for Oviraptor. So his effects can like go through smoothly, and you wouldn't have a problem resolving his effect. His second effect doesn't really come up in this deck, and that's basically he can banish himself to special summon any number of dinosaurs. You don't really put too many dinosaurs in the graveyard, so you don't really use his second effect. You're basically going to be banishing them for Ultimate Conductor Tyranno 99% of the time. Next, we play 2 Giant Rex, and the reasoning behind that is Giant Rex, when he's banished, he can special summon himself, allowing, like, so if you play Gold Sark, you can like Gold Sark him, he'll come back, and it allows you to go into some dino plays going first or second. I've drew inspiration behind building this deck from a YouTube page called Team VLR. Feel free to check them out. They have a deck profile completely different from mine. I remember watching them, and like, I really like the idea of how Dark Law and dinosaurs kind of go together. Heroes and dinosaurs, they're 2 of my favorite archetypes, and them just meshing together well goes well. But in my personal build, I like to play Giant Rex for the reason that it allows you to go into Lagia and Dolka like really easily. So the strongest I've ever really had him is like 2600, and he gains 200 for each banished dinosaur. So he can become pretty strong. The only unfortunate downside to him is he cannot attack directly, so that's unfortunate. But most of the time you beat over things with him, and then your other cards are free to attack. Next, I play 2 Overtext Coals, and I would bump this card down to 1 because I really hate drawing it, because it has to be sent to the graveyard, and its effect is it adds a double evolution pill from your deck to your hand. So that's really good in itself. But the reason I play 2 is because this is actually a really good card to special summon off double evolution pill, because you can destroy a dinosaur monster in your hand or on the field. So you can destroy a dinosaur monster in your hand or on the field, cough itself, and basically still get his effect to negate a spell or trap. And you can basically destroy himself to a double evolution pill and go into a Conductor next turn. So that's what makes Overtext really busted in this deck. And if I can cut him down to 1, I would. But most of the time you find yourself sending 1 with Oviraptor and then special summoning the other. And that pretty much almost wraps it up for the monster lineup. The Dino lineup, of course. And you finally wrap it up with 2 Big Daddy himself, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. This card is the best boss monster in my personal opinion. Don't at me. So there's 2 ways to summon this card in this deck. One is your traditional way, banish 2 dinosaurs from your graveyard. So you can go Giant Rex and then special summon Giant Rex, and then you have a card on the field to destroy using his effect. Or you can use Oviraptor to send Quotel's effect to add a double evolution pill. And since you do play heroes and hand traps, you should always have things to banish off double evolution pill. That pretty much wraps it up for the monster lineup. Let's talk a little bit about the hero lineup, and I'm just going to include it up here because it is very small. You play 2 Elemental Hero Shadow Mess, and the reasoning behind that is you only want to play 2 because you only want to ever use it from a hero lives. You only want to special summon her for a hero lives, and you want to use her second effect when she's sent to the graveyard, if it ever comes out, to play Elemental Hero Bubble Man. And if you guys have been fans of the channel or have been watching my last deck profile, I cut Honest Neos. In my honest opinion, he wasn't that good, and the reasoning behind that is he's only live if you have hero monsters on the field. And Bubble Man, most of the time in dinos, you do kind of waste your hand super fast because you're discarding for cost, you're sending things, you're banishing things. So Bubble Man allows you to go into some rank plays, because when you have no cards in hand, you can special summon them. And what I find myself doing sometimes is just pretty much setting all my cards and then just special summoning them sometimes, because he just really is that good. And like, it never really comes up, but just in case it ever does, his second effect is that if he's the only card in hand or like and out on the field, you can special summon them and draw 2 cards. It's never really coming up in this version of the deck, but in my hero decks it sometimes has, and it is really clutch. But yeah, that's just heavily what I recommend playing Bulbaman. He just isn't a brick as much as Honest Neos was. Sometimes I'd have Honest Neos in hand and I couldn't go into and I wouldn't be able to go into a hero play, so I just basically end up destroying him off of Conductor, or like that. Yeah, basically destroying him off Conductor, basically making him useless. So that pretty much wraps it up for the hero lineup. Now finally you play 2 Summoner Monk, and the reasoning behind that is Summoner Monk, when he's normal summon, he switches himself to defense, and you can activate his effect to discard a spell to special summon a dark level 4 from your deck. And if you guys haven't noticed, Oviraptor is a dark and Shadow Mist is a dark. So what Summoner Monk's role in this deck really is he allows you to either go into a hero play or go into a Dino play. Most of the time I find myself using Summoner Monk to special summon Oviraptor by discarding a spell. You do play like 19 spells, so you should always be fine with spells. But what that does is Oviraptor will get you your Ultimate Conductor, and Summoner Monk, you could just mass change him into Dark Law. So that should really be no problem. This deck really does spit out Dark Law and Ultimate Conductor, and I highly recommend you guys play it or try it on Yugioh Pro. I have had good success at my locals with this deck, and it's just my personal like go-to deck to play. 3 Ash is mandatory, 3 Veiler is mandatory. And that pretty much wraps it up for the monster lineup. Let me talk a little bit about them spells. So about them spells, 2 Pot of Desires, you banish 10 for cost, and I really feel super skeptical about this card because you most of the time will banish a Conductor or 2, but you can still get home like from there. But just Pot of Desires is just such a good card in my opinion. It's such a high risk, high reward card. You banish 10 to get 2 new cards. So play it at your own risk, but I do personally find myself banishing sometimes Conductor or banishing the Overtext I need to send later. But there's just not a card as good as Pot of Desires that will allow you to get 2 new cards. And I don't like playing Upstart because although it does make the deck feel like a 39 card deck, you're trying to kill your opponent 1 turn. So yeah. Next you play A Hero Lives, and A Hero Lives role in this deck only serves as one purpose. Since you are going second, you most of the time will draw A Hero Lives. A Hero Lives just basically baits out the 1 negate your opponent has, the 1 or 2 negates your opponent has, allowing your Conductor or your Oviraptor play to go through. So although it is a heavy cost, I do prefer them like ashing my Hero Lives just in case I have another one. Because your opponent will be tempted to, once you pay half your life, like just instantly ash it or instantly negate it, but that'll just allow your Oviraptor play or your Dino and like Dino part of the deck to just go through. Next I play 3 Fossil Dig. Oh yeah, my bad. So what you do with the Hero Lives is you special summon Shadow Mist, and what Shadow Mist would get you, when Shadow Mist is special summoned, she allows you to get a Mass Change, and we only play Mass Change 2 in this deck. So the reason you play Mass Change 2 is because you can Mass Change any of the dark monsters to make Dark Law, or any of the monsters to make any mass heroes, and I'll explain a little bit about that when it comes time. But next you play 3 Fossil Dig because you can add Oviraptors, like basically it's playing 6 Oviraptor. And finally Double Evolution Pill, because when Overtext is sent, it allows, when sent from the deck to the graveyard, it allows you to send. So Oviraptor sends Quotals. Quotals will add you this, and this is basically Quotals or Ultimate Conductor. Most of the time it's Ultimate Conductor, but going first, this is good for Quotals to set up some double negations. Next you play Double Gold Sark for Giant Rex. So basically, if you guys can see it, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 search cards in this deck to basically like modulate your hand and get things going of how you want to play it. And finally, we play 1 Foolish Barrel because you will send Quotals or you'll send Shadow Mist to allow you to get any of the things you want. Shadow Mist's second effect is when she's sent to the graveyard anyway, even as an XZ material, which is absolutely crazy, is it'll add a hero monster, so you'll be adding that Bubble Man. Next, you play 3 Mass Change 2. Now the reason I do not like playing Mass Change, normal Mass Change, is because it becomes dead if you can't Mass Change your Oviraptor. So this pretty much, what Mass Change 2 does is you target a level monster, discard a card, and it'll like turn it to a hero based on its attribute. So for example, if I was to Mass Change Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, which it does come up sometimes, you'll have to summon a light mass hero monster. If I Mass Change Oviraptor, who is a dark Dino, you'll have to Mass Change, like you'll have to make him into a dark hero monster. Could be Dark Law, could be Enki. It comes down to your personal choice, but I most of the time find myself just going into Dark Law and Enki because most of the deck is dark. You can pretty much you can make anything with a level and a attribute a hero, so that's pretty busted. And finally, for the last spells, we play 3 Called by the Graves because sometimes you do want your things to resolve. Sometimes you do want to just negate that act, so your opponent, here, take this $2 card to negate your $50 card, and it just feels good. So yeah, Called by the Grave, in all honesty, is just basically to negate anything that will stop your Dino plays from going. So that pretty much wraps it up for the 19 card spell lineup. Let's talk a little bit about that extra deck. For the extra deck lineup, I always like to have one token. It's just my personal opinion. I always recommend having a token. Could sometimes come up. One Underclock Taker, because this pointing to Ultimate Conductors most of the time can beat over nearly anything. One Gagaga Samurai, because putting stuff like putting the dinosaurs in the graveyard sometimes is good, and you sometimes want to have two dinosaurs in the graveyard. Like, so this will detach one and it could attack twice. Being at 1900, that's 38 with Conductor. So it just makes your Conductor plays more life, since making rank plays in this deck is very easy. Gaga Cowboy just became a meme now, so basically have them just in case you go into time. Make Gaga Cowboy and just go for game. Number 641 Baguska, because again this deck can make rank plays relatively easy. So if they make you go first, you just put Baguska, you know, he's kind of tired, put him in defense, make your opponent, you know, kind of salty, and just continue your plays going next turn. Next we play the Utopia lineup, which is now one Utopia and one Utopia the Lightning. Utopia the Lightning, you detach 2 cards and he basically becomes 5,000 and just attacks for game. Next you play one Silent Honor Arc, and he detaches 2 materials to specials to take control of one of your opponent's special summon monsters in face up attack position. So what you do with him is, if you do have like double monsters and you have over like giant Ultimate Conductor in hand, you detach the 2 dinos, take one of your opponent's monsters, and just special summon your Ultimate Conductor. He basically puts cards in the grave and gets rid of cards you don't want to deal on the field. So it just kind of allows you to go into more plays. So that's why I really like Silent Honor Arc. Next, one Tornado Dragon, because again, during either player's turn, you can destroy a set. Like, you can target one Spider Trap card on the field, destroy it. Evil Sword Dolka, one Logia and one Dolka. Logia is my personal favorite because he is Solemn Judgment on legs. He can negate spells, traps, normal summons, special summons, you name it. Dolka is also cool against certain matchups, like Trickstar, or like any, like if in case you want to stop like some hand traps. And he's a non-once per turn that can negate monster effects by detaching 1XD materials. For example, you can make this first, and then you have like maybe a Pot of Desires, activate Pot of Desires, your opponent will be not ashing you because you could just negate it with Dolka. So Dolka's pretty cool. And finally, for the hero lineup, we play one Darklaw, because you really only ever need one, and Darklaw's role in this deck is he serves as protection for your dinos. So when you make Darklaw, your opponent can't Honest, your opponent can't Veiler, your opponent can't Ogre, because those cards require them to go to the graveyard. There's cards like Ash Blossom which get around it because their cost is to discard, but for the most part, Mass Hero Darklaw, anything sent to the graveyard is now banished. And that's really good in the Goki matchup. That's really good in the Trickstar Sky Striker matchup, because they want those spells in the grave to get those multiple engaged draws. So Darklaw just being like saying no to everything being going to the graveyard, it's just really good in this deck. Darklaw is just a very good hero in my personal opinion, very well designed. And another thing that he has that's really good is when your opponent adds something from their deck to their hand, you can basically activate Darklaw's effect and just snatch a card from their hand to banish it. They can't Ogre you because Ogre does have to be sent to the graveyard, so don't be reluctant to activate that effect of Darklaw. Or they can't Veiler it either. Next, Mass Hero Koga. You could mass change Conductor into him. You could even mass change Effect Veiler, a 0 attack monster, to make Mass Hero Koga, and he gains 500 for each monster your opponent controls. Second effect, you can banish a hero and basically lower your opponent's monster by that much. So for example, if you were to banish a Shadow Mist, lower your opponent's, like target opponent's monster, lower it by 1,000, and you have this beefy guy most of the time at 3,000 attack, if not higher. Next one, Mass Hero Acid, because you can Bubble Man into Acid and just blow your opponent's back row, and he gains 300 attack, 2,900, pretty awesome. Next, Mass Hero Dian, because you can mass change Giant Rex and then have Giant Rex in the graveyard to banish off Conductor, to banish off Double Evolution Pill, which is absolutely funny. And then if Mass Hero Dian destroys a card, or destroys a monster, you can special summon a hero monster from your deck, so you could most likely go into Shadow Mist, add a Mass Change 2, and just basically go for your plays from there. Finally, to wrap up the 15 card extra deck, we play one Mass Hero Anki. And the reason, because Mass Hero Anki, when he destroys a monster, he lets you add a mass change. Plus, he could attack directly if his attack is halved, of course, during that damage step. So he'll attack directly for 1,400. And it's just pretty cool. I never find myself needing 2 Darklaws. So one Anki and one Darklaw is just my personal opinion. And I just like to run these 5 heroes. That pretty much wraps it up for the extra deck. Let's talk a little bit about the side deck. So for the side deck, we play 3 Firecracker, and Firecracker is just such a funny card because you discard it and you basically burn your opponent for 1,000. Drone Lockbird because like Trickstar, Sky Striker, and Goki are one of the best decks, and they rely really heavily on adding from deck to hand to get like more resources. So I took this out of the main deck because, you know, back row heavy decks, I don't really face them as much, and Altergeist kind of fell out of like relevancy in my personal opinion. So I kind of just side in 3 Twin Twisters whenever I play a back row heavy deck such as True Draco or Altergeist, which I feel like 3 Shared Rides because it's this card's like a turn ender if you're playing Trickstar, Sky Striker, Trickstar, any deck that searches like pretty heavily, because now every time they add a card from their deck to their hand, you get to add a card from their deck to your hand. And finally, you play 2 Imperial, 1 Imperial Order, and 2 Anti-Spell. And the reasoning behind that is you play a going second build, so most of the time your opponent will want you to go first once they see you could have potential to OTK. So what, in my personal opinion, I do is I take out all the hero lineup, which is basically the 3 Hero Lives, the 2 Shadow Mist, and the 1 Bubble Man, and I put Floodgate cards like these to go first, which makes like the deck down just that much easier, like going first. So I basically would put in, like for example, if I'm playing Trickstar, Sky Striker, I'll take out the lineup that I just said: 3 Hero Lives, the 2 Shadow Mist, the 1 Bowman, put in these 3, and put in these 3. Maybe take out some other cards and put in the Share Rise, and it just makes going second decks, in my personal opinion, are a lot easier to side deck with, because you could just take out all the going second cards and put in going first. So that's just my personal opinion on going second decks and why I personally prefer to play them, because they're just much easier to side into. And when you're playing a going second deck, your opponent's just gonna make you go first now, and you being the smart player you are, you have cards in the side deck prepared to allow you to go first, taking out all those going second cards. So that pretty much wraps it up for the extra deck. Let me get into some final thoughts. So that pretty much wraps it up for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope I was able to share my insights on this deck, and I hope I was able to convince you to give this deck a try out. If it's just Yugioh Pro, if it's building it itself, this is a very fun deck to play. It's going first or going second. I'm gonna try to get some test footage with this deck to showcase how the deck really plays and how I personally prefer to play it. That pretty much wraps it up for the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. Have a happy 4th of July. I know Firecracker is. If you guys take a look at that artwork, he's pretty lit himself. But that pretty much wraps it up for the deck profile. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Catch you guys in the next one. I'm Sesma. I'm out.